watch Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am John, and this week we are talking Survivor 47, Episode 4, and of course this episode featured some great examples of how to really anger people by talking to them, and thus my co-host this week is Andy. Andy, how's it going?
Yeah, these people are amateurs, unlike myself, who... What's the opposite? What's worse than amateur? What is there a thing where you get paid?
No, you would have to
That's
pay
a
to do it.
professional, and then pay to do it. What's that?
Sucker? Amway.
Sucker, I think, might be it.
MLM scheme.
Yeah, we just need to get a few people working for us, and then this whole thing's going to come together. Build my network.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are awful, how's life in Florida right now?
I mean, it's great. I feel like eventually, if we get hit with enough hurricanes, people are going to figure out which part of Florida I live in. So, if I
just have a map and they just triangulate,
ruling out this one, it's not there. They'll get to it eventually. But
yeah, we've had several people ask. We had a fan mail about it. Shout out to Carter Fan. I think there's some message on the comment board. So people want to know you're alive and all that, right?
Yeah, I am indeed. It's always very funny because you, and with good reason, as a Canadian, have no concept of Florida, nor should you. And so you're always like,
been there,
right? But you're always like, is this hurricane gonna hit you? I don't know. I don't know where you live. It's a big state, kind of.
I'm also I'm only marginally paying attention to the news, right? I'm not looking at the Dopplers to see where it's setting landfall. Like Florida, cool. I mean, last one hit several states. It's the other thing, your states are way too small for the most part, right?
But
I'm used to like 3 different states having the same thing happen to them. That's like a huge part of my country.
Well, yeah, but that's because your provinces, 90% of it is the void. Nothing's there. So
just tillable soil and snow.
Right. So
actually not a whole lot of soil from where I am. Yeah.
But I mean, you've got that precious black gold though.
Yeah. But yeah, no, everybody can rest easy. It's nice. Actually, how is that? It's is it more nice that people have concern about you, or is it annoying to have to explain hurricanes to non-Floridians?
Well, I mean, I don't even feel like I'm a good Floridian in that, people at my job were like, wow, the pressure on this one is whatever millibars. And I'm like, what? I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know what that means. I don't pay enough attention. They just tell me a hurricane's coming. Do I need to leave or not? That's it. I don't I'm not someone who stares at the weather and is like, oh my God, what's going to happen next?
Yeah. It just made last night more difficult because, yes, you're safe. We can podcast. You can watch. And yet the unnerving gall for them to preempt Survivor for weather updates.
Yeah, these bastards. I was all ready to watch Survivor. I'm like, okay, we're good. It's time. Let's cue this thing up. And no, of course, it was nothing but hurricane coverage. I was like, shit. Yeah, that does make sense. People are, I guess, more concerned about their lives than whether Rome is going to play his advantage this week. So, alas, I didn't get to see it until today.
But you did.
I did get to see it, which is nice. So, what was your take on it? Because I have thoughts.
Yeah, I think objectively, this was a good episode of Survivor. It had what you want out of a Survivor. Some twists, some strategy, things coming out of nowhere, twists in terms of you think it's going one way and then the other way. I suppose the other kind of twists too, but those aren't necessarily what we want out of Survivor. All that said, I didn't love it because I wanted it to go the other way.
I mean, I agree with that part. I will say, though, that I thought that overall, a good episode. I enjoyed this one. You're right that we got time with each of the tribes. I feel like I know stuff that's going on. There's a little bit of comedy with Sue in intended and unintended ways. And then, the continuing saga of Rome and Saul, like, I'm still amused. I can understand that there might be a point at which I'm like, okay, this is too much. But for now, I'm still on board. I think the only problem is, as you alluded to, I finally thought we were getting to a point where there's going to be a character I like and I was rooting for. Like, I appreciated Kishan fanning the flames and endorsing the terrible ideas of others, like some like bad idea amplifier or something. Like, that was fun. I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to get some of this. I'm not going to get more of that. It's done.
Yeah, and it's like a well-constructed episode, no criticisms, but I was ready for Rome to go. This was the episode where he'd reached the tipping point for me. Obviously not yet for you. Like, we've been like talking about how he sucks, but he's amusing. For me, this episode, there was a lot of him, and I wanted him to leave really badly. So at one point in the episode, it looks like it's going to happen. Although I wasn't like fully riding. I'm like, there's still time, there's still, and then it starts to flip and it's like, shit.
Yeah. Once it started to flip, you had to know, like, well, it's not happening.
Oh yeah, I just paused it. It's like, he's not going anywhere. Like,
no.
I think my wife was still excited about the possibilities. Like, nope.
No.
I was just like, damn it. Because you could tell, I honestly, like, the seeds were early, and I was already starting to feel like when like Teeny comes back and they relay the plan to her, and Genevieve's like, I didn't plan anything. I just had it told to me. I'm like, that's not good, but let's just wait. And then as soon as she finds out that she was in fact, as soon as it's clear that she's about to find out that she was a decoy vote, it's like, well, there it goes.
Yep, there goes that.
And again, really well done by the show, and like, impressive by Genevieve. My wife was actually excited because she's like, "Hey, look at that! Our Canadian's doing something." I'm like, I don't care. It's like I was sick of Rome shit this episode, and so by the time it was over, I was just like,
I think
it's just not what I wanted.
And I imagine
you don't always get what you want.
I imagine it was probably more frustrating because, like, it was set up that this would have been a good comeuppance episode for him, right?
It would have been so sweet.
Yes. They'd done all of the things that would make you be like,
110% sure
right,
that Saul is going home.
Yes. I mean, all the things were in line where you could have gotten a vote out for Rome and been like, that was fun. And we didn't get it. No. So I understand being disappointed at the outcome, but still, aside from that, a good episode.
Yeah, like, I'm just taking the L on that one. I'm not like, oh no, everything's awful and all of that. Like, I'm not even that bummed about losing Kishan. I liked him too, but it's like, it's fine. In a great way. And like, we can point all the figures that he, did it to himself, and we'll get to that. So none of that. It's just like, man, that's not what I was hoping for as the episode was developing. And frankly, probably why I didn't fully buy into it is, one, it's like, let's see old Rome wiggle his way out of this one vibes. Mm-hmm. And for two, it's just these things are so damn long that it's like, there's still time for this to turn around. In the old days, it really would have felt like it was him, because that's where the pacing would have gone. But it was like, there still feels like there's shoe to drop, but there it is. There it is.
Yeah. But I mean, I think, like I said, the problem was the thing that I've identified as lacking in this season is like a quote unquote star, right? Like a character that I'm very invested in watching play, rooting for, whatever. And it's like, Rome has topped out at like, no. You're mildly amusing when you piss other people off, but when there's too much of you, that's too much. Whereas like in this episode, I was like, oh, now we're getting this like presentation of Kishan as like a messy bitch who loves drama. And I'm like, yes, that could be fun. Not for long, but it could be. And no. And it was, I don't know. I was disappointed from that angle, because still 4 episodes in, I'm like, I don't know that anyone jumps out from the rest of this cast. And I think there was a small chance it was him.
Yeah. And look, like, full marks to Genevieve. She came from like not on the show to like, bam, like doing a lot and all of that. So maybe it's her, right? Like there's still time and not, but it's just like, yeah, there's been a feature character of this season and it's been Rome. And I'm not really down for that anymore. You know, like
Yes.
he's, you don't want him as your best player. That's Jordan Poole at the Wizards.
It's just,
who also really wasn't their best player in the end.
I mean, right, but he was intended to be.
And he certainly, I mean, honestly, that is an amazing analogy that I just pulled out. Rome is so much the Jordan Poole of this season.
He really is. But let's talk about Bargain Basement Alanis, because, you know, she did get her star turn in this episode. This was her jagged little pill, if you will. And did she make the right decision?
Wouldn't it be ironic if she didn't?
Sorry, don't you think?
Yeah. That's where I should have gone with that. Based on the information and vibes she was picking up, I could completely understand why she did what she did. But was it the right decision? Like the reasons why she was ready to vote out Rome, and then she had articulated very well early in the episode, those haven't gone away. He is still a potential drag on anything she wants to do. And she did all of this because she felt like Kishan was looking to make a move against her. And I don't think he was, you know? Like, I think she gets spooked, as survivors do, as I get it. I get why you would not want to be the decoy vote. But, like, that's all it was. It was just a decoy. Like, he wasn't actually trying to make a move on you at all. So, in the end, where does Genevieve get out of this? More connected to Rome than I think she wants to be. Disconnected from Teeny, not really connected to Saul. Whereas if she just votes out Rome, you know, it's kind of status quo.
And that's why I kind of have some like competing thoughts here, because meaning with myself, not with you. I don't even care what you think. So Genevieve, I think, you know, her initial argument was she essentially doesn't want to go along for the ride. She's type A, right? She's got to be calling the shots. And like, she doesn't want Kishan to do that. But it's a pre-merge vote, right? Like, this is not, it is one vote and it's not your whole game. No one else is going to know about this vote once you get to the post-merge. Like, this is not a time where you have to be like, oh, I need to be calling all the shots. Who cares? The thing is, as you mentioned, now she's like hitched her wagon. That's an expression, to Rome. And that's bad because, you know, I think Rome was also trying to call the shots, but he went along with Genevieve's plan. And it seems like, oh, well, maybe he's flexible in that way. No, I think that's really just because he thought he was the target. Like if she was trying to push him in any other direction, I don't think he would have done it. And so like ultimately he's not great to be around. He's going to potentially fuck up your, you know, joining a larger alliance because people will be like, I don't really want that guy with us. And then, you know, like ultimately, I don't know that he's a super flexible ally to work with. So yeah, I lean towards it being a bad decision for her. Definitely as a viewer, it's a bad decision because she kept Rome.
Yeah. I'd say like it's a short term, like it shows how she could get something done. You know, she was feeling like she was just a passenger or whatever. Like, no, what? I'm going to do something. And then she got it done like that. Right. With the caveat that, you know, Rome had an extra vote and Teeny had none. Right. So it's like, you got something done, but you had tools with which to use that other people didn't. But it's like, I don't know that what you got done is what you should have gotten done. You know,
yes.
I feel like being an ally with Rome is kind of like rain on your wedding day.
It's like 10,000 spoons, but what you really needed, a knife.
What's great here is that I think we're being like accurate with the analogies, that we're describing things that suck.
Yes, they're not so much ironic.
They're not ironic at all.
But they are things that are bad.
That's right. She has met the man of her dreams, and then his beautiful wife. I don't know where we're going here, but I'm
Nope.
gonna keep going. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. It's just like, you know what? She could have, at the very least, there's nothing really that can backfire on this, because I know what you're doing. Like, oh, we got to get the blind side and all this. Who cares? You know, who cares? Kishan literally didn't vote, right?
Yeah.
Teeny can't vote unless you think she's lying. And shout out to the listeners and all that. Apparently, Teeny uses all the pronouns, so I'll keep trying they, but I will be okay with myself if I screw up every once in a while, like I just did. But why not just go talk to Kishan and see? Hey, so Rome tells me that you were using my vote as my name as the decoy. See what vibes you get there. Like, again, I totally understand why she had the vibes, because I do believe Kishan was feeling himself way too much. But I still think that she would be in a better place going forward if she could still work with Kishan instead of having to still work with Rome.
Agreed. And then, ultimately, I think Kishan would have been in a very good position after that. So she, ultimately would have been boosting his position. But I don't think that matters, because, at some point you're going to get to the post-merge, hopefully. And at that point, it's a different game.
Yeah. And it's like a position of like you three, right? Like, so that was the missing thing that you and I both kind of assumed was the case last week when people were wondering whether it was a mistake to vote out Asia or not. And I'll say, obviously, scoreboard for Kishan, probably not the best move for him. I feel like if they would have voted out Genevieve instead of Asia, Kishan would still be in the game this week.
But see, that's Tuesday morning quarterbacking, Andy.
Yeah.
And when they made that decision, I wrote reasonable choice in my notebook.
That's right.
I did not write game over.
No, not yet. No.
No.
But yeah, the reason why, and Kishan said this actually in exit interviews, apparently. I've only read one or two tweets talking about it. I didn't read any of the interviews. But he was in an alliance with Genevieve and Teeny, just kind of like what we assumed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is like, you got to break up Genevieve and Rome. Well, he didn't think so. He thought he had Genevieve. Clearly, he didn't have her to the degree that, he should have, or at the very least did not manage her. So, bad for him. But it's just like, if she had gone forward with it, if she's just been like, okay, I need to be weary of Kishan. Did I get that one right?
No,
wary.
Yep,
It could just be my Canadian accent. That's not going to blame any time, really. Be wary of him. But like, you not more than you should need to be wary of Rome. Like, Rome is just this lodestone that'll be dragging you through this game. You couldn't even do a puzzle with him because his ass was sitting there like he was the fucking king.
So
you think you're going to manipulate him the way you need to go? Yeah, congratulations. You got him to vote for somebody that wasn't him.
So what?
But I think, Sorry, you're trying to talk.
So while we're talking about Rome, because, you mentioned the challenge. If they had said they were throwing it, I'd believe them, right? Like,
I couldn't even enjoy how hapless he was because I was assuming that he was throwing it.
But okay, so not to get too in deep with talk of this construction of the show here, right? But there is a possibility wherein he would be throwing it and they wouldn't tell us. It's a very grim possibility related to the outcome of this season. So I'm just going to assume that's not it at all. And they're just both very bad, especially Rome, very bad at the puzzles.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, how would we know, right? Like, if he came off of the show and started saying, oh, I was throwing that, are we supposed to believe him? Mr. I almost made the NBA other than not playing high school basketball or whatever it was. That's what you would say when everybody's talking about the most pathetic puzzle performance in the history of puzzles. Like, Tony's like, bro.
Yeah, seriously. Tony's better at
Tony's
slide
pro,
puzzles than that guy.
Yeah. But the whole time, and that was another reason why I was fucking over his shit. Cause it's like, are you really? That's how arrogant you are that you're going to throw it this obviously. First off, throwing in these challenges is so dumb. So dumb. They're combined immunity and advantage challenges. So you should probably want the reward, right? Not advantage, but reward. Sorry. 2, you lose more than just going to tribal council. You lose your flint. Like, you should absolutely 100% never throw these challenges. 2, it's actually not that important to get rid of Saul. And if you hadn't gone to tribal council, Rome gets to hang on to his steal a vote for longer in the game. Like, there's no reason to throw it. It would have been an idiotic throw, which is another reason as I'm watching, I'm like, fuck this guy. So that's another, like, I was just so out because, like, 100% certainty is we're coming back. I even said it to my wife when we're fast forwarding through commercials. We're coming back, and Rome is just going to have a shit-eating grin and tell us all about the brilliance of his challenge throw.
Well,
and then they didn't. He like talks about being bad at it, and that's kind of like, I'm like, really? Like, how were you that bad?
I mean, you say, how is he that bad? But there were certainly clues in the rest of the episode that he's just...
Sure, but not one piece.
I'm just saying.
I feel like there's enough time to try every one of them.
There are still clues that he's bad at Survivor in general.
So bad.
I think the obnoxiousness of him tailing Saul, just following him around, like not even a foot away, was just, come on. Like, I get the idea that you don't want this man to go find an advantage, an idol to keep him safe, whatever. Sure, fine. But like, in the range of possibilities of how to do that, how was this number one? How was this the best choice for you, and how to prevent this from happening? Like, it's so shitty. Like, it's just terrible Survivor play, much less life skills.
It was Hansian, and then the whole thing, this is Survivor, I don't have to do it. It's like, okay, but there's another element to Survivor. Absolutely, you don't need to leave the guy alone. You don't need to give him space to find it. But it's like, for one, it didn't even seem like Rome was looking for himself that much, so much as he was just watching Saul the whole time. But it's like, there's the other element to this thing, man. You need people to like you and get along with you, and he has no fucking concept of that, and I'm sick of it. So yeah, that, I think, just the tailing, I'm like, oh, this fucking guy. And it doesn't help that he's like doing this to like the one grown adult around here that's just like, I can't believe I have to put up with this shit.
Yep. Mr. Big Mortgage Energy.
That's
So
right.
the one thing that I thought that Saul did well is like, he brought it up in front of everyone at tribal council just to like point out, like, hey, he didn't talk about the tailing part. He just talked about how in general Rome has been fucking terrible at Survivor, right? Like, he talked to like, and objectively about how Rome came at him with this discussion of like, give me your shot in the dark, and or I'll steal your vote, and it's a threat, and blah blah blah. I mean, Rome. I'm glad you mentioned Hans, because it's similar to that, right? Like, the Rome's plan to use the steal a vote is actually a pretty decent one, right? It's it's a low value advantage anyway, and this is one of the few benefits to it, is you can take someone's chance at a shot in the dark, and it's such a small group. Like, it's a good time to use it, whatever. All those things, totally fine. Just his execution, complete ass. Like, he's terrible. He was a like dumpster fire talking to Saul, and just, it very much felt like, this, God, I hate to use the term game bot, but like this game body, people are like, pawns in my game attitude. And it's like, how the fuck have you watched this show and thought like, yeah, that's the way to do it. That's how you win.
Yeah, point me to the winner that did anything remotely like this. And it's not even just the way he deal with Saul and how that could come back at him. When he's telling like this to his, presumably the other members of his alliance at this point, he's like, yeah, I could just take it away and he won't be able to have the shot in the dark. Which, when he's like, I hadn't thought about that. Wes, that's not a begrudging respect on that one. And like, we could just tell him that we could vote him out and there's nothing he could do. Like, he was relishing being an asshole to him in that moment. And like, his alliance were like, man, that's not cool. Like, Kishan brought up, like, well, we could find an idol. But it's just like, they are uncomfortable to the point where they had decided they were going to vote him out. And now that I'm thinking about that, like how he's been a jerk to Saul. I did like when Saul was like, you're going to vote me out for looking for an idol. It's like, you're voting me out anyway.
Right.
That's why I'm looking for an idol. I
Exactly.
actually can't get lower here. So fuck you. But more, getting back to whether Genevieve made the right decision. So say there's some kind of swap or, they make it to the merge as currently constructed. Saul's still in the game, because of Genevieve's move to both move the vote off of Saul with Rome and to move the vote off of Rome to Kishan. You think if, say, there's a tribe swap, which I believe there is going to be next week, there's something going on with the previews. Some people are thinking, so say there is, and Saul ends up with Genevieve, not Rome. You think he's sticking with her?
It's going to depend what the other options are, right? Like if the other
right.
options are terrible, then yes. But otherwise, there's
But
no
if he
loyalty
has
there.
options,
Yes.
no.
Exactly.
Whereas if she just would have okay, I got to watch out for Kishan, but let's get rid of Rome. Yeah, I think the remaining Lavos stick together. Now, I don't think Genevieve has anything other than Rome, which, not the best thing. Like, frankly, if it stays next week, just Lavo, I think Salentini have to be willing to go to rocks. Like, you just can't keep letting Rome do what he wants to do in this game.
Right. And I did appreciate, speaking of not letting him do what he wants to do, that, Saul, I think, dealt with it nearly as well as you could, right? Like, he didn't play along with Rome's bullshit. He was like, yeah, you're threatening me here, and I'm absolutely not going to do what you're telling me to do. And, just his fucking annoying tailing him around and stuff like that. He's like, really? Can I just have a moment of peace? I don't got to give you a moment of peace. Like, again, he kept his cool and was like, fine, I'm going to the beach.
Yeah, it's almost if Rome was doing the Johnny Fairplay thing of like trying to annoy somebody so much that they swing at him to get kicked out of the game.
This was always a thing that Fairplay claimed he was doing.
I don't believe it. I'm just saying, I don't believe anything that fucking guy said.
Exactly. Probably similarly true of Rome too.
There you go. Yeah, maybe that's a better. Like it's maybe too complimentary for Rome to call him a Hansian figure. He might be a fair play figure.
But I did enjoy that Saul was just not along for any of it. It's like, no, you're going to vote me out for looking for an idol? Well, why do you think I'm looking for an idol, right? Like all these things, like he's just hitting him back with like the rational take versus, just Rome has this weird obsession, like wanting to publicly have the upper hand and like acknowledge that I'm above you right now. Like, nah, I'm not going to give you that. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, then I'll just take your vote. Fine.
Sure.
I will go out of this game with no vote, but I will not fucking satisfy you. But otherwise, never getting like, blowing up on him because, Saul has the patience of some famous figure.
He has the patience of someone with a mortgage. I knew what joke you were going for, but I know. Look, I'm an atheist.
It's better you to push. Well, I mean, I think he's also a historical figure. Not
Is he?
Just a biblical one.
Look.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, it's all fictional, like in that book, but like I think there was a king. Anyway.
Probably.
Well, that'll be next week's top 3 list.
Yeah.
So, like, Kishan goes home. What do you think he did wrong?
Oh, God. If I was being snarky, I would say that he was entertaining. That'll teach him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think making a move when he didn't have to make one, that was one thing, right? Like there was some minor ways that he presented his idea to Genevieve that I think, could have been handled a little better. Like, oh, hey, what do you think about this idea? What if we do this? It was a little more like, hey, we should do this rather than what's your take?
And I think that was the whole thing. I think for somebody who really wanted to be sneaky and is like, I'm just going to stir the pot and like let other people, once it came time, he wasn't really looking for feedback. He was a little high on his own supply.
Right.
And he did it with the wrong person. I think he underestimated what Genevieve was. Maybe he saw her at it too. I don't know. But like, even when he was saying it, I'm like, this conversation is feeling a little more one way than I'm comfortable with because I don't know Genevieve. So I'm like, I need to like get a sense. Like I heard she was in a big alliance with Rome. Again, last week I also shed doubt on that. It's like, well, we heard that from Teeny, not from Rome himself. So it's like, it's certainly possible, but you should lead down the path a bit. And then when he's talking to Rome about, who should be the decoy vote, we need a decoy vote. Let Rome pick, man.
Yes. And that was a misstep because he definitely, he could have paused and like said, "Oh, were you thinking Genevieve?" or something like that, to make it sound as though it was Rome's idea. Just anything other than putting the name out there himself.
Frankly, like if he was going to make any kind of suggestion, I'm like, well, I mean, the most obvious thing that what Saul would want to do is to vote for you.
Right.
But I understand if you're not comfortable with that, but like if you're going to put out anything, but after that, it'd be like, so what do you think, Rome? And that I think is just a big blunder. And so many survivors will talk about this. It's just, nobody wants to be the decoy vote. I mean, Kishan wasn't like, hey, let it be me. But you got to be really careful about suggesting it because that's what turns around on people so fast.
Yep.
And it's a short vote game. It gets shorter every fucking episode with all the ways they take people's votes away and stuff. So like, I understand why nobody wants to be it because it could just so easily become them. And, there's shots in the dark and they're idols. I mean, they never get played anymore, but maybe now they will. But yeah, he wasn't as slick as he thought he was. And while I was disappointed that it was him because it wasn't Rome, it was like, otherwise he's probably the nicest survivor to get that comeuppance edit that we got, right? Because he is beaming at tribal council until suddenly Rome steals his vote and is just like
record scratch moment.
Things. Is it bad that I'm excited to go to tribal council? Yes, it is. It's very bad. And again, full marks to Genevieve. I believe at that point she's probably already made her decision and she keeps her mouth shut.
Yep. Also the one like Kishan, you mentioned not wanting to be the decoy vote. Like Kishan explicitly says something about like, oh, it's so great that our name isn't out there. So like he's aware of the idea that people would not like knowing that they were a decoy name or just that their name was out there regardless. Right. And so, yes, ultimately it is set up very beautifully for him to go home. And it is his comeuppance. It's just like, oh, really? I don't know that I wanted his.
Yeah. Nowhere near as satisfying as Rome's comeuppance would be, And I just like, obviously, anytime Rome's in the game will be set up for her to comeuppance edit. But I feel like this one would have been better just because he was just such an extra asshole to Saul.
He was. However, we got something new this week. We had a group of 3 go off on their little journey. When they get there, 2 things. One, I don't know if this is just a thing. Is this a coordinated effort that it's just going to be like a narrative dump every time the group of 3 meets up? Like, is this just the expected progression of the game now? It's like, okay, now let's all share our shit. And then we will move on to the advantage part. Like, it just felt so like boilerplate. Like, okay, we have to check this box and then move on to the next thing.
I think they all like, because of, since the, 41, it's like, oh, this is the part we go on a long walk and talk. And then they get there, it's like, there's no walk.
Right.
Well, we still got to talk. Like, that was my moment. This is what it's going to be.
Right. I was going to shine on TV. The other thing is, as soon as they said shared advantage, I was like, oh, fuck, the stupid amulet thing. However, this one is slightly different. So let's talk about that. Do you like the slight twist that they put on the amulet thing?
It's now less obviously a tontine, right? Like, there was no other way to view the last one. Get a shitty advantage, get a slightly less shitty advantage, or get something that's actually valuable. And that's like all you could interpret the previous amulet as, and thus it was a scarlet letter. This isn't that. Like, it's always an idol. It's just a matter of, do you want to get 3 people to agree, 1 person to agree, or, do it all yourself? So like, there's still a motivation to turn against, but it's not so obvious a motivation like that you frankly had to pretend that it was anything but
right.
The last one.
Yeah. And I think you're right in that I think it's probably unlikely that it's going to be used when there are 3 people involved. I could see a scenario.
How do 3 people decide which one person requires protection from an idol?
I mean, I guess it's going to be like they just all have to agree to it, right? Like they could be like,
well, no,
oh.
I mean, I know functionally how it works, but like would there ever be a situation where 3 otherwise unconnected people can be like, this is where the idol needs to be?
Exactly.
I mean, not impossible. Like, it probably happened in say like, David versus Goliath or whatever, but that level of coordination is tough. I mean, most people last season couldn't coordinate their one person deciding who to play an idol on.
Exactly. And I could see it happening though with just 2 of them left.
Yes,
like that could maybe go down. I think it's when you have 3 of them, the likelihood that they will all be together for the vote, but still need the idol, right? Because you've already got 3 votes if you're voting together, presumably. And then you have to play the idol. Long odds.
And 3 people from 3 different tribes. So, like, presumably some of them are bringing people with them.
Exactly. Right. They're not going to be out by themselves in that alliance. So, yeah, it just doesn't feel likely.
Unless them going on this journey alienates each of them from
which would be funny.
It would be. No. So, I actually think it's like, unlikely 3. But it might be more common 2 because the other part of it, and this is why I think these journeys just need to end. I think that they're an unnecessary addition to the show, and the show already is just yada-yadaing it. Before, it was as long. It was a journey. They call them a journey. The journey now is the boat ride, which I don't know if they're allowed to talk on because they're not filming it, right? So then show up. Before it used to be like do some kind of challenge or like really think it out. Now it's like do this or you'll be punished, or do this and you might be punished anyway, right?
Right.
Which sucks.
Yes.
We get that again. That basically, if you don't do it, you're all going to suffer. It's like, okay, well then clearly somebody's going to do it. So I think you can just get rid of it, because the other thing that's happening is now everybody just goes back and tells them exactly what happened when they were there. And like my wife's like, what are they doing? It's like, well, what can you do? It's such a trap, even when you tell the truth, people like suspect that they're lies. I feel like that's been less the situation this time, for one, just because it's been just plain honesty other than Rome and nobody believed him. And I think it's just become like, people just tell you what happens at the journey now. So it's like, I don't think there's any juice to squeeze. And I think there's enough going on in the episodes that you don't need this 10-minute segment.
Well, not only that, there's not any doubt as to what happened because they're pulling out the idol that they got, right? So it's like you have verifiable,
this is
like
the thing.
Yeah, here's the note,
exactly
here's the
happened.
whatever, right? Like there's, you're presenting evidence with it. The one thing
within that, where I was going with that is now everybody in the entire season knows that these 3 people have amulets that can become idols if they agree. So once it gets down to 2 of them, I feel like everybody would be disincentivized to allow one of them to have the power of an idol. And you can't blindside both at the same time unless, they end up on different tribes when they do the stupid we're sending you to 2 different tribal councils things, in which case they should definitely take these people out because they wouldn't even be able to agree to ever make it an idol at that moment. So it's almost like it might give those 2 people kind of a blanket immunity, not like permanent forever, but like people will become reticent to move against the 2 of them, because doing so, you can do one at a time, would then make the other person more powerful than you want them to be.
In theory.
I'm not saying impossible, but I'm just saying that's something that could happen as a result of this.
I think it's also possible that, if you had a strong group, say you've got a group of 4, whatever it is, and one of them is one of the ones with that amulet, they might be like, hey, let's take out these other 2 so that we can get an idol for you. And then we've got, something for our team.
That would have happened like 2 seasons ago.
Exactly. Yes.
Where they did take out the other 2 members of the amulet.
That's the exact scenario that I'm thinking of. The one thing I wanted to comment on, though, is, they did the narrative dump right at the start of the journey. And I thought it was interesting that Andy actually seemed to play it fairly well. And maybe it's just that I have a very low bar in my head of what Andy would do. But I was like, oh, I think he actually did pretty well on this one.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this episode, Andy was clearing the low bars. I'm not so much when like he keeps losing his shot in the dark, and maybe a little less so when he immediately blabs on Sierra. But I actually don't have a problem with that because he did it with Sam, the one person he's actually truly aligned with.
Right.
So he has been better than he seemed like he would be in the first episode, but he's not good.
Nope, he is not. So let's move on because there was one other new thing this week. I don't know that it's even a new thing, but it's just the way they structured the Beware Advantage. It's different from earlier in the season, right?
Or any other season.
True. But in this case, similarly to the other things, she finds the Beware Advantage, Sue does, and she has to, do this little minor thing. There's a map, blah, blah, blah. All fine and good. And then at that point, when she whacks it down from the tree, splat, this bucket comes crashing down and paint goes everywhere. I personally thought that was like a nice, cool little twist to potentially let people know that something had been discovered, right? Like it's going to make a sound. It's going to leave a mess. Like it's going to cause a ruckus, not like dropping a box down the side of a rock face, but like it made a noise. There's evidence. So it's going to then be hard for that person to hide it. Now, I don't think I anticipated that, you would have the time to nearly fully cover it up with sand and do a pretty good job of that, but then still not have time to clean yourself up. And that's when the fun happens. Also, quick aside, Gabe and Rome and all these they had to go through like these full complicated things to get their single-use idols versus like she hacks down a thing from a tree and it's like now it's a full power idol till the end of the game. Wow.
Well, as somebody pointed out in comments, we don't know what the third task was going to be to get the full powered idol. Maybe it was always this.
Maybe. But I'm just saying she didn't have to do any tasks prior to this. It was go to this thing, chop this down.
I feel like that's how it goes, though. Like
it is.
The longer we get into the game, the less they limit the powers of the idols because you're already losing days anyway.
Yep. They want those things out there and in use. But as I mentioned, though, the fun started because she's got to clean up this red paint that is abundantly obvious to anybody who comes walking by.
Here's the thing. They all have to be red paint, I'm guessing, because they're the blue tribe, so it wasn't like color coordinated.
Right.
I think every tribe has a red one there. And that's, well, I mean, probably not Gaeta yet because Sam hasn't played his idol. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Well, she got so close, right? She was almost there. And of course, they don't have a mirror. She can't see her face.
No.
And like at first, as the viewer,
I didn't see it either.
I couldn't see it either. And then she turns and you're like, oh, shit. It was a great reveal. Like it was just done so well.
And then the scrape on the chin, you could almost get away with, but then it's like all up in your hair.
Oh, man.
Like, oh, man.
It was. So I don't know what the move is to explain away this quote unquote blood.
I think at that point, it's the truth. I think it's the truth.
Because here's the problem.
You are, as she said, and brilliant by the show to make the metaphor come to life, caught red-handed.
Yes. But like saying I was playing with the machete. No,
oh my God.
Not ideal.
That's probably where you were going before I stopped on it.
Well, and
you don't know what the correct way, but saying that you were playing with a machete is not it.
Right. It makes you sound like someone I don't want to share a beach with. And then also, like, okay, so that one
I bit the back of my tongue.
Yeah, that didn't land. So I'm gonna go. I bit my tongue. Well, then what the fuck? How did it get
clean off?
Right. That's not how blood works. Like, it was very good. And again, I understand she is caught and on the spot and she's got to think of something right then and there.
Yeah.
It's just, that ain't it. Like, that was bad, but also very funny.
Right, because it was hilarious. Yeah,
it was.
That was fucking genius by the show. Whoever thought of that, take your bow. Because you have to beware. This is a real threat and danger, and one that still doesn't prevent you from getting the thing. In fact, like even the beware, you'll lose your idol or you lose your vote. That's not really what's on the risk here. It technically is, I suppose, if you'd ever found the rope to cut. But nope, the beware is holy shit. All right, you got it. Now what? And a thought I've had while we were talking about it earlier, wouldn't it have been amazing if Saul had found the beware advantage and Rome was right there and just tailing him, and then Saul cuts that thing open and it just sprays Rome with it.
That would be good. I mean, there's still time.
That would have been amazing.
Let's see.
So, yeah, no, but here, which did you find less convincing? Sue lying about why she's got, red coloring in her hair and on her chin, or Sue lying that she was 45 years old?
I made a conscious effort to think like I'm not going to discuss that one, but I did, I think I have told you this before. I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I watched this British show and it's called Naked Attraction. And the amount of times that I have watched that show, and the whole premise of the show is that it's people dating while naked, right? And so you get to see all of a person. And so many times I've watched that show and thought like, wow, that person, like, good for them to go on this show. They're, probably just out of a long relationship or something. Like they're going to kick off their 50s with a whole new attitude and like really brave with them. Good job. And then it's like, oh, Rachel is 29. And it's like, holy shit, really?
It's a rough 29.
I was like, Rachel needs to learn about sunscreen because there's that consistently happens on that show where I'm like, I have a preconceived notion of what this person's age is. And it's like, no, they're 32. And I'm like, what the fuck? I thought that person was 60.
Yeah.
Woof. So I bring up that story for no particular reason. You can share your thoughts, Andy.
Well, look, man, 45 would be lying for me. Not by much, but it would, be forgetting the COVID year, basically. And yeah, I don't feel like I look the same age as Sue. I don't feel like my contemporaries look the same age as Sue. As you say, maybe it's because, we don't bask in the sunlight as much up here. Although, technically where I live is one of the sunnier places on Earth. It's just sunny and cold. Just messes with your mind.
Right.
So much sun, but it's cold outside. And the other thing about it is, and Emma's been right there with me. It's like, she's clearly had work done. So it's like, and what's probably going on in her mind is she's very happy and satisfied with the level of work she's done. So she knows she's this age, but she had this work done to de-age her. And it's like, actually, that's not what's working. It's like, if you're 45 and you've had work done and you look like this, you should sue. Again, that's horribly mean, but it's just like, it's not actually de-aging you, especially if you're like, it might be de-aging you if, you're like, oh wow, 58, didn't know that. But like 45 and then doing a bunch of stuff to make you look younger, it's like, God, they're not doing the job, whereas if she was just natural. But another thing that could be happening is, you see this on the internet a lot, is there's in your country there's basically two parties, right? And when we're talking politics,
yes,
and one of them seems to age you at a faster rate than the other. Like anytime you see this, I think this is mostly men, but not, I guess not. It's like that dude, and they tell him, it's like, and then like he's 30, and it's like, he's only got the hair on the side of the temples, which male pattern baldness can happen no matter what your political beliefs. It doesn't matter whether you think like people deserve to live or, immigrants should be shipped off into containers. Like that could happen, but like they have the lack of hair and they're wearing the suit and all that. And it's like, this kid's 21. I'm like, what? You look like a full grown man. So like, maybe that's the thing that's going on. And, normally we don't pay attention to people's politics, but this one's kind of snuck through. So that could be another thing going down.
I mean, I'm going to avoid making too much of a comment here, just, to be nice. But I will say that,
I mean, it's fair that like we probably don't get to speak on this, but come on. That lady tried to say she was 45 years old.
It's an interesting
how
number.
Kyle reacted to it while also talking about like, her grandson, which 45-year-old people can be grandparents.
Sure.
But it's like, it's not a talk. Like, I think they know, like she's talked about how old the grandchild is. So it's like, so we've got that math going on. And also you look like the way you do. And yet And bravo for Kyle. He's like, oh, well, you should be proud because what are you trying to do for me here? You're not 45.
Again, what a number to pick. But
Yeah.
I think it kind of it makes me think of like, definitely not me, but someone I know. If they went to Disney World and they have like a kid who is above I think it's like 3 and under get in free. And let's say your kid is 5. What is the Disney worker gonna know, right? And this is my 3-year-old. Like you're just hoping that, the Disney person is like, yeah, sure. I'm not going to put too much thought into that. That seems fine. So maybe that's what Sue was hoping here. Like 45? Sure. I'm not going to devote mental energy to that. I'll accept that one.
And then she picked 0s and 5s too. Like, 48 would have been a stretch, but I think maybe then you'd be like, I'm not going to, okay. But like, come on. 45. Come on.
Yeah. As I said, interesting choice of number there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move over to
tribe.
the yellow tribe. What are they called? Gata?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Sadly, I remember that because of Sam's rap. It's like,
more on that later.
Yeah, but I'm saying also like, oh, this was something I was not expecting from the show this week. Also a decision was made there. So, but let's focus on Sam and Sierra for a second because they are basically the shot callers in this tribe. As far as we've seen,
well, I mean, Annika can't even vote the next time, so I think it's fair to say.
Right, but also, this was the first time we've seen some mild dissension in the ranks. And do you feel like that's an ongoing thing? Is this the turning point in their alliance, or is this just something they get over and they're fine?
I mean, I think they'll mostly get over it because, again, Annika can't vote next time. So I think Sierra keeps forgetting that part in all this. Yeah, I just think, like, I understand why Sierra was that way. Like, Andy had just betrayed her confidence, when she told him not to tell anybody. Now, look, what the hell are you telling Andy for, Sierra? That was a complete own goal.
Yes.
You did not need to do that. And yeah, I think Sam actually has reason to be like, wait, you're telling Andy this and not me? Like, what's up? So I even understand where he was coming from. But I kind of, and I don't want to, but I had to side with Sam on this because when he's explaining to her, well, if we vote out Andy, then they'll target me next. And Sierra's like, I won't let that happen. What are you going to get them to target themselves next?
Right,
you can't stop this.
That's not how it works. Yeah, I mean, ultimately,
and what it was is Sierra didn't care. She wanted to vote Andy. That's where it was.
Right.
Like, well, we'll worry about that when it comes to it. I mean, I'll be protected. Like, she's also like not just wanting to vote on Andy. She's trying to hang on to all of her options. And she's got the thing with Sam. She's got the Breadwinners Alliance. And just real quick, and then I'm going to let you talk. Enough with naming the fucking alliances. Okay, you go.
Well, I think you don't like the Breadwinners Alliance because you don't even use that term in communist Canada, do you? You just win your bread by standing in lines for it.
Yeah, well, it's a big contest because sometimes the line you get to the front and they're like, "Oh, sorry, no,
out of bread this week. Come back next time."
I like how you built us up to be Yakov Smirnov.
I feel like it's time to recycle some of those jokes, right? Don't let them die. Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, like you said, Sierra's just overthinking this. Like, there's no scenario where you're gonna like somehow save Sam, but the actual thing that's gonna happen is it's not ever gonna get that far, right? There's gonna be a tribe swap. There's gonna be a fake merge. There's gonna be something. So,
but as they're talking about it, they don't know that they're not going to tribal council the next day, right?
Of course.
And at that point, it's like Sam could just be like, "Okay, here's the deal. Annika doesn't have a vote, and I have a one-time use idol. So Andy's staying unless you and Rachel vote for me."
Right. And again, really.
And then you're willing to go to rocks to take me out because me and Andy will be voting for Annika, and you and Rachel can decide. So.
And ultimately, like I said, it's not going to matter.
No.
I mean, it's not going to be able to get that far anyway.
It just cracks in the possibly the most boring showmance in the history of Survivor, particularly because it's not actually a showmance, but several of them haven't been.
It's a Plutonic Manse.
No Manse?
Nope.
Nah.
I mean, that's better than mine.
Yeah, well, about to happen once in a while.
Yeah. But, I did mention Sam's bars that he was just spitting. And so it got me
better than
thinking.
Rome? I think people have said simply because he kept saying words where Rome did not. But like the rhymes themselves, often there wasn't a rhyme. He just kind of said another line, and then often it was rhyming one word with the same word later.
It wasn't great, and the thing is, I wouldn't even try. Like, this the thing is,
no.
It just don't do it.
But that's fine. It's not like it was a challenge. Like you don't actually have to try at sucking at rapping on TV. You could just say, I suck at rapping, and then not do it.
Then you don't do it. Right.
Yeah. And I didn't get the session that like they were like I didn't get the feeling that was like a cipher and they were all kicking in rhymes and that was his. Like, I kind of feel like it was just him doing it. I could be wrong, obviously. But it's like you could not. And honestly, the first thought is, you, sir, are no Chris Noble.
Of course. I have to say, like, my one shining moment with rapping was like I somehow made the lyrics to Get Low into a wholesome song about painting when my kids were really little, just so I could be, rapping along to it while it was playing with them. And I was like, yeah,
so it's probably something with the wall.
It was absolutely, you were painting the walls. I don't remember all the lyrics, but trust me, it was fire. So in that note, or in that vein, I should say, let's talk about the top 3 opening verses in hip hop songs in honor of Sam's freestyle.
And really the hip-hoppiest season in the history of Survivor so far. Like 2 out of 4 episodes, we had somebody saying that they could do this thing.
I was going to say, I mean, the only other competition would be Ghost Island, right? Just the Chris Noble thing, like Chris Noble and then Wendell.
Which basically Wendell was just saying you suck.
Right, just saying, right.
Accurate, but also I feel like what we've gotten since, we may owe the Noble one an apology, because clearly top of the Survivor game.
Well, I would also say, that Wendell's... that was his diss track, which was about as high energy as Drake's diss tracks. So, it's in the same vein.
Yeah. So yeah, I chose opening verses just because like favorite verse, all of history of hip hop was too big for me. So at least still, and then we don't have to listen that long. We can just like, hey, was it this one? Yeah, that's it.
It's also tough because even just narrowing it down to openers, still absolutely. Like, oof, it's rough.
Yeah, I could change my mind. There were several contenders, but I'm happy with my 3. Well, How about you go first this time?
All right. So one thing that I noticed as I was going through, I'm like scrolling through my liked songs on Spotify trying to figure out, and I realized that a lot of the rap songs from the era that I liked spent a lot of time like telling you about who they are, like the rappers telling you who they are, what their name is, why they're so great, blah blah blah. I think
my name is Sam, and I'm here to say I'm the rappingest survivor in the USA.
That sort of you're in this. I mean, it would be slightly better than that because they got a record contract out of it, so their game is a little stronger. But with that said, my first one, number 3, DMX, Party Up. I love the introduction to the song. Gets me hyped. It was on my running playlist back when I used to run. Excellent first verse to that song.
All right. For me, my number 3 is more of a personal choice. So I don't know if it would show up in other lists, although maybe it's just because this half of the duo is underrated. But I've always loved Big Boy's opening verse to ATLiens.
Damn you.
The Outkast song. Oh, that's on yours too?
That's my number 1, Andy.
Clearly, I was wrong. It will show up on other lists. And part of cooler than a polar bear's toenail is one of my favorite lines.
It's so good.
I've used it as like probably an I am signature type thing in my life. Maybe a live journal update status, but it's so good. And frankly, like that, I love the song as a result. And like that might actually be my favorite Outkast album, which is not anywhere near the consensus opinion, but it might all stem from like that opening verse from Big Boy.
An important update: his uncle is no longer in prison. That because Uncle mentioned in that first verse. Yeah. Thing Damn it. Yeah, that was my number one. I love that verse. It's so good. And it's the same sort of thing where it's like he's introducing himself, telling you why he's so much better rapper than everybody else. Perfect. So now you got to go ahead and do your number two because you've taken my number one.
If I take your number two, though.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Go for it.
So Inspector Deck's lead off first to Triumph, the Wu-Tang Clan song.
So oddly enough, I thought of that one. That was like one of the first things I thought of. But, when you actually look at the lyrics, you're like,
it's saying nothing, but who cares?
It's fun to listen to for sure. But then I'm like, these lyrics are pretty terrible.
They're amazing.
They are. They're great to hear. And then you
bombs
like
atomically. Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses.
I know.
And how he'd be dropping these.
But again, when you read the lyrics on the page, you're like, nah, this can't be it. It's a good song. It was my honorable mention because I did consider that one.
The thing is, I've gotten older. Is lyrics are overrated.
I've always been on that train.
For hip hop, it's kind of what it is. So for the longest time, I didn't think that lyrics is all the best, and it'd have to be serious hip hop heads. But it's like music is about sound and feeling, and the way that he's dropping all of these lines and the way the verbal gymnastics required to do that and the complicated rhyme schemes. Nah, man, I considered it for number one, and I think the story is that like after he put that down, they all had to rewrite their verses. They were like, oh.
I feel like one of them did not rewrite their verses.
like you guys, like I don't have two verses in me.
It was pretty bad.
This is what a flex at Triumph is that they have You God and Master Killer go back to back. It's just like, it's fine. You'll stick around,
Yeah. Well, shit, what my number one is. But so my number two, which is going to be my last reveal, public service announcement by Jay-Z. Because once again, allow him to reintroduce himself. I love it comes in, it hits hard, and then he also gets in a lot of good lines. He's got the hottest chick in the game wearing his chain. It's good stuff. It gets me hyped.
All right. My number one honestly might be the greatest hip hop song of all time. And that would be Prodigy's lead off verse for Shook Ones Part 2 by Mobb Deep.
Oh. No.
And frankly, just thinking of that might be why I thought of doing this list. And I'm like, hey, maybe someday we should talk about this. It's got all the quotable lyrics to the point where, they lifted it for Hamilton and stuff. So, yeah, that's the one.
All right. I'm interested to see what we get as feedback for this one. Because, again, the options are plentiful out there.
Yeah, so. I'd say I almost didn't steal your number one because, earlier in the week, I was listening to the Chronic record while I was making lunch. And nothing but a G thing, Snoop's opening verse, that was a big contender.
Yep.
And right there, it's his lyrics aren't as complicated as a Mobb Deep or Jay-Z or whatever. But for Snoop, it's all about his flow.
Yep.
And what a statement of purpose about we're here, both as Death Row and the West Coast, we're about to take over. So it opens with him counting. Nobody counts or spells like Snoop. Yeah.
That's exactly. And I mean, there were a lot of other rappers who did some spelling in that time frame. So, they just couldn't hold a candle.
Yeah. So, have our deep hip hop heads that follow this thing. This is exactly, we've done 3 hip hop lists. And clearly, when people are looking for hip hop opinions, what they're looking for is, some white dudes in there with big mortgage energy.
Yeah.
In their, middle age.
Yeah.
Who are survivor dorks. That's really what this is about.
I assume
it's why they threw that party 50 years ago in Harlem.
I assume that's why search engine optimization, if you Googled that, you'd come right to our site. White guys in middle age.
But
recommendations.
This comes from an episode where we saw Sam try to rap. So
that's true.
It's thematically, I think it fits.
Yeah, it does. We should maybe make the bold claim that we will move away from hip hop lists next time.
I planned on it, and then fucking Sam tried to rap on my TV. What do you want me to do?
Listen,
do you want me to do?
No complaints, because it did allow me to peruse my Spotify list again. Hey, we mentioned at the top of the show that we got a fan mail from someone hoping that I was still alive, which confirmed, yes. You can text us at the podcast. And once again, we can't text you back. So I feel like people maybe aren't comprehending this with some of the things that we get. We don't get your name or anything like that. So if you want to be shouted out, you're going to have to give us some kind of name to call you. I don't care if it's a fake name. I don't know you. But I did get confirmation, though, that if I ever went on the show, that this person would call me a Rob Goddess. And that's what I need. You know, I need people to have my back and pretend that I was really great at Survivor when I get voted out first.
Yeah, we had a bunch of Canadians show up in the fan mail this year. So I don't know if they had to pay long distance charges or whatever. No. But yeah, one said a few nice things or whatever. Actually, it's the same one. I think that they'd be upset. But they also mentioned that we had to check out the auto-generated chapters on the Spotify listings for our podcasts. And I did. And some of them are amazing. So like the fan mailer pointed out one that was Saul mispronounces his name. That's kind of funny.
It's good.
Because
it was definitely him that did it, not us.
Yeah, not me. I got it right this time, though. The other good one was Andy throwing John under the bus. Perfect. And then from the same episode last week, top 3 fruits and vegetables we haven't eaten in our ancient decaying ages. Just fuck. I take back all the bad things we said about AI last week. That is just chef's kiss. And then I think the best one, coming right off of what we were saying, was like listening to this podcast is hearing your boomer uncle at Thanksgiving. So
it's so good.
That's a great chapter. So yeah, now every once in a while, I think I will check out. Like most of them are boring, what do we think of the show, or whatever. But the true art is when they mangle it, and I look forward to what they could have gotten out of this one.
Hey, we got one more.
If only we could get a chapter title that is like Republicans age in dog years. That would be amazing.
Well, now you've said it as a string of words. It could happen this time. Also, we did get a very important. I love an editorial correction. We got an important Degrassi update. So, break the news, please, to your fellow Canadians.
Yeah, so I'm going to read this one. And I will say, once we were done, because I did show some doubt about what they're correcting me for, I did look it up to find out that I was wrong. Hi, John and Andy. I'm a longtime listener, first-time podcast texter. I grew up in small town, Nova Scotia. Degrassi, The Next Generation, originally aired on CTV, not CBC. And yeah, that's what I said. And as soon as I said it, it's like, I think I'm just using CBC as shorthand for Canadian television. But yeah, it was the other Canadian network. Then yada yada. They remember a good friend of theirs skipping school to meet the cast at a local mall, and they were pumped because they got Aubrey Graham's autographed. And I mocked her mercilessly because haha, Drake will never be big. So close. That's is that a better or worse prediction than Tony 0% Club?
It's
right on. It's in the tier.
Yeah.
And then almost 20 years later, I've been proven wrong, yet stand by my mocking because, well, Drake.
Right. As you should.
That's right. He's not like us.
That's what I hear frequently from my Spotify. All right. Anything else for this week, Andy?
I think we cleared it.
All right. If you can find any fantasy league results that you're looking for at purplerockpodcast.com, subscribe and whatnot. I don't care if you do that. Just listen to the podcast. And then
on that note, I think we need to have a scoring correction for last week.
Do we? Sure.
Yeah, you gave Teeny a VTAP point for voting for Saul because you were, I think, assuming it was a split vote.
Yeah.
I think in this episode we got clear evidence that was not the case.
I mean, I would argue
no points there.
Not that we generally put this on the podcast, but I would argue, she was aware of where the vote was going, and it was like,
and then chose not to vote that way, so no points.
Sure.
If you want to vote your conscience, you don't get points.
That's true. I should judge them harshly. Anyway, so Purple Rock Podcast.
It's like, I know that Hillary's going to win anyway, but I'm going to vote for Jill Stein. No,
listen.
That's not how it goes.
But I hope that's a chapter title now.
Maybe that'll be the thing we go. That's a chapter title.
Let me fucking finish talking about the website, purplerockpodcast.com, which I said way too fast. That's purplerockpodcast.com. You should comment and you should send us ridiculous texts And I'm fondly remembering the first one we ever got where someone was like, look at this picture and you can't attach pictures. We should have just ended it then.
Check out, y'all.
That was the best one. So
All right. Hit the theme music.
This is the copyright-free outro to another niche survivor podcast.